let's talk about this Reedsy email. So it came out April 3rd. They sent out this thing, and it's basically don't let or AI for authors, three marketing shortcuts you can use today. And they said, and it says, oh, you won't be left behind if you don't jump on the AI bandwagon. Um, and then it goes into these details of different things that you can do. So spreadsheet automation, and we'll save that one for last. Data analysis, and then add image generation. So if you're not familiar with Reedsy, their slogan is meet the editor, designer, or marketer who can bring your book to life, which data analysis, spreadsheet optimization, and add images. So, the ads that show up on Facebook, Google, whatever, those are all things that their primary audience would do, like the users of Reedsy would do. And they have sent an email saying that, hey, here is how you can do this with AI. At the same time saying, oh, you're not going to be left behind if you don't use AI. And it's just started kind of a firestorm. Beatrice, I know you were looking into this a little bit on like threads and stuff. Like what are you seeing out there?
I mean, obviously people are upset, right? I'm upset about it. I think it's bad. Like besides all the ethical issues that we've been talking about, like just AI, Gen AI in general, I honestly think it's kind of stupid. Reedsy has a business model in which it's true that they have a writing editor that is online that is very convenient for a lot of authors to use. However, the way that they actually make money, or at least have been making money until about a week ago, which we're going to see a little bit of timing stuff in next in the conversation, has been specifically through the marketplace, which is a hub in which cover artists, internal artists, editors of multiple like copy editing or like line editing, developmental editing and stuff, and even marketing people could find authors and authors could find them through this big hub of Reedsy. It's called Reedsy Marketplace, and then work together in books. It's not only for indie authors, like people that work in publishers can also like look for like freelancers to like get the services, but the main audience that uses it is indie authors, like people that are kind of like trying to find it by themselves, because usually traditional publishers that are on the bigger end already have people on staff that are providing the services, and that is the thing that is most alarming to me, that I've seen in social media as well, just like the sheer hypocrisy of like you are getting your money out of a percentage fee that you get from the transactions of people finding artists, and you're shooting the artists in the head. it, that's like, for me, it's just the logic, even from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, like the math doesn't math in how anyone thought it was a good idea to send out an email that contradicts itself, saying, well, I personally wouldn't use AI images for marketing, but these are the exact steps that you can do and exact things that you can ask it to do so you can use it. It's absolutely nonsensical. And I've been feeling a lot of emotions in all of the podcasts that we have done in this, but it's because I am a person that feels a lot of emotions. But this particularly hit hard because I've been using Reedsy for years. I used to use Scrivener, like Google Docs, and then Scrivener, and then I started using Reedsy like probably like 6 years ago because I really liked their writing like editor, and everything felt very convenient to have online. And I don't know. I considered using their marketplace to find my editor, which I'm very happy that I just found mine because she was recommended to me. And I am also a cover artist that have been considering for a really long time using Reedsy to find authors that would want to work with me. So like in multiple layers, it's personal, but also I feel like that is how a lot of people feel that just got this email out of the blue. This email, I'm pretty sure, also got to people that are offering their services in the marketplace. Like it's fucked up in multiple ways.
Well, and then they're like, oh, you can use like AI generated images, not for your books, but for your marketing. And they're like, just don't use them for commercial purposes. Using it in marketing is commercial. You're making money off of the use of that image, thus it is commercial. And I think that's like a wild misunderstanding of what a commercial license is,
And
which
uh,
seems really like odd for Reedsy specifically because of what they do.
and I mean that's even part of their, like I said, their slogans like hire a marketer. Like they're basically saying, hey, all those marketers that we have on here, piss off because you can do all this with an AI. And I do a lot of this for StoryForge. I don't do the art stuff because I have no artistic skills, but the data analysis, like the spreadsheet optimization, you can do that. I mean, that's part of my job. We could do it with an AI, but it's if we did, I would have significantly different job. Maybe I wouldn't have a job. So you are essentially taking you're promoting taking jobs from people, um, which is
And use
wild.
yourself to find jobs.
Hmm.
Ah!
Which is interesting because their stance on AI. So can freelance professionals on Reed to use generative AI and can such work be copyrighted? It basically says images cannot generate exclusive using AI cannot be copyrighted. Consequently, if you incorporate AI generated content design project, you must sufficiently modify or recreate them for the final deliverables to be copyrightable or exploited commercially by the client, which is kind of not at all what they are suggesting you do
Yeah.
for like these ad images. Like it's basically saying, no, use the Studio Ghibli stuff. It doesn't matter that people are getting cease and desist letters from it. Do it. Promote yourself that way. It just feels like came out. So this was posted on April 6th of 2023. How to record an audiobook with AI in 6 steps. So they're already trashing on some of their own people because it's like, hey, here's how to do it yourself using AI. You know,
Yep.
and I mean
You,
it is significantly cheaper than hiring a person, but it's not going to be as good. And that's the entire point of Reedsy is that you're supposed to be hiring these people. It finds people, a connection with these people, and they're just slowly throwing people under the bus. I assume because they get a much bigger cut out of this AI stuff than actual people doing stuff.
you know what is also something that I didn't look into until now, and I find even more concerning. This is a marketing email that you know how you can put like from blah blah blah. Usually the marketing emails come with the like the not the headline, but like the person that sends it instead of saying like read CHQ. It's from a specific person. So let's try, for example, like some of our newsletters have been from me, some have been from you, some have been from Derek. We
Hmm.
usually, it's things that we have really put our hands on it. They come from Ricardo Fayette, which while we were talking, I was like, is there a chance that this was just like a person that is not really in touch with like the author world or like the mission or anything, and then it's just a marketing person that kind of put this up? No, Ricardo Fayette is the co-founder of Reezy. Like he
Hmm.
is the person. So it's like it's even worse because it means that if he's putting his name in this thing as this is something that I personally am recommending me as the co-founder of Reedsy for you and other to do, it really shows how the one of the people that is behind this company is not aligning with the people that they are supposedly there for, which is even more concerning. I didn't know this until I started.
And then Beatrice, you wanted to talk on excuse me, you wanted to touch on some timing issues that you kind of alluded to it earlier. I didn't want you to forget that thread.
Okay, so as I said, I've been using Reedsy for long time, mostly just to write because I don't really like to write in like docs or Word or anything. Um, I think last week I got a little notification and that I didn't pay attention to that said something like, see the new features, see the new paid features, get a trial, whatever. I don't use a lot of their planning tools, so I don't care. I just write and then export and then upload to StoryForge and that's it. Um, when I started going to this rabbit hole, rabbit hole of all of the things that people were saying about Reedsy, I found something very interesting, and it was more context on the new paid features and situations that Reedsy is has come out with. And it's per my understanding, a lot of the tools that they have that were for planning, which they have like notebooks and you can have like jot down ideas for notes, you could set goals, stuff like that, that were previously free. They are now being behind a paywall. And that is extremely, extremely recently. And it's pretty much the timing of the email. And there's netizens out there speculating something that I think is, speculation, but very logical, that it's because the money that they were getting from the marketplace, from the fees that they take from every transaction of like authors finding people, is not enough money. So they are trying this alternate way to get money, which is putting all of these things now behind a paywall, and they probably don't give a fuck about their marketplace anymore because it's not something that is giving them money, and that's why they're fucking up the people that are using the marketplace. Which is not the first time that they have done that, not necessarily with AI, but did you know that if you are an editor that wants to find indie authors or have indie authors find you, you could use Reedsy Marketplace only if you have worked with traditional publishers, because if you have worked with self-published authors in self-published book, that doesn't count as work experience. Even if you have been a freelancer for like 35 years and you have worked in like 2,000 million books, if all of them have been self-published, you don't count as having any expertise or any experience in the field. And there was someone that posted this on Threads, and they responded to that person. This person is Megan Carver. She is an editor and she's an audiobook narrator who is extremely talented, by the way. And she said, how does an editor get onto Reedsy? They create a profile, submit titles for a certain number of published books they've edited. They wait for an approval, so the profile is public. But the kicker is that self-published books don't count. Obviously frustrated because if you're like her, and she says if you're like me and you work with a lot of indie authors, that can be very frustrating. Reedsy responded back and said, "It's a good point, Megan. We've given our selection criteria a lot of thought to. As someone mentioned, on occasion, we accept experienced editors who've worked on good quality, commercial, successful indie books. However, the vast majority of our editors have worked for traditional publishers at some point. This is a good rule of thumb and part of the value proposition to authors because it gives good results and maintains the trust in the quality of Reedsy professionals." Which basically means if you're an editor that works with self-published authors that haven't made an insane amount of money, you're not valid to us, which is also extremely fucked up.
Yeah, and that feels really wrong because a lot of indie publishers don't trust the publishing industry and thus are not going through the publishing industry for a reason. I know a lot of people who indie publish or self-publish because they don't like how self-publishing works. They don't like how editors give feedback, or they don't like this, or they don't like the censorship, or they don't like that. So going to Reedsy, in theory, if you're going to find a like a, an editor, you want someone who isn't going to betray your trust or act in ways that you didn't want. So only having authors who have had like, publishing industry like experience feels just like a betray of that trust.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It really defeats the point because like we've talked to some other people on our other podcast where I'm drawing a blank at Sarah Alsterhade, I believe it's her name, and excuse me if I got that wrong. She talked about how she did the traditional publishing first and then moved to self-publishing because she found that there was so much more freedom in self-publishing. There wasn't this debate with the editor, the publisher of like, oh, you need to leave this in or you need to take that out. And she gets to do what she wants. She gets to have the final product that she wants, which if you're going by traditional publishing, you're probably not going to get. And that's probably what most of these editors are going to do. And yeah.
One of the most like I don't know, one of the things that rubbed me the worst way about that particular response, which like Ritzy, what are you doing reading like every single mention of you like in threads? Like why are you so obsessed
Yeah,
with me?
I saw that on
Like
Reddit that
that's
they are like going around like responding.
it feels too weird. I don't
It
like
feels crisis.
mm,
We've talked about this in some of the other things we recorded. It felt very much like crisis management.
yeah, and she didn't even tag Reedsy, right? She just mentioned it. I think it would have been different if she had tagged them, but the thing that irked me the most was that they admitted that an indie book is only valid for them if it has had like commercial success,
Hmm.
like if it has sold a lot, which is, and I don't know why we need to be reminded about this. Not every single author that wants to publish a book is there for the money. A lot of people are, and that's super valid, but you cannot look at someone in the eye and say you are not successful because you haven't made millions. That is such a fucked up statement.
Well, and like as an author who's like I know you're on the opposite end of kind of the
Yeah,
goals from
I do
me.
want the money. I want the money.
Right, you want the money. I'm on the very opposite end of that, where my goal is less of to make a bajillion dollars and become famous, and more so just to do what I love and to make sure that the messages I want to tell through my stories get out to somebody. If that's 10 people, that's 10 people. If that does make me a lot of money, that's a good perk. So, like, looking the people in the eye who do this for passion and do not have huge lofty goals and saying, well, you aren't successful because you don't meet traditional standards of success is just like a big, you know, big kick in the ass. And are like, no, you can't be successful because you define success differently.
And
And I
I
think
think,
that that's a big problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's why platforms outside of the platforms like StoryForge and our others competitors in that space, I think that's why we are able to exist because there are people who they only want to self-publish. They only want to work with self-publishers in terms of editors. And I think that's why we can't exist because not everyone's going to make $1 billion. Like, the New York Times bestseller list, like honestly, you go through and look at that, it's going to be the same people over and over again. You're going to get a couple breakout authors here and there. And it's I mean, I'd be willing to bet if you went back and looked at it, it's going to be 100, still be like 100 names over the past like year. Like it's
Mhm.
always the same people. It's the established people. It's what was the Onyx Storm lady? I don't remember her name. Stephen King, James Patterson. Like it's the same people who do over and over. Tom Clancy, despite the fact he's been dead for 20 years, still pumping out bestsellers. Um, so to say to basically echo your point, Rosetta, to say that because you were not super commercially successful, you you did not work on something that was super commercially successful, you are not valid is really just a kick in the ass to everyone. That's a kick in the ass to the writer, to the editor, to anyone who worked on art. And honestly, it's almost kicking the ass to the readers. Like, well, you didn't support this person enough. They were not valid. You didn't work hard enough. It just across the board, it's just kind of a dick move.
Well, and I think, excuse me, I think like reader support is also a big thing because, you know, you can have a group of readers who are super passionate about the story, and those people will defend you.
Hmm.
And they will be like, this book is really good, and I really like this story. And I don't care if, only 20 people have read this book, I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna, I want this to be successful in its own way. And so I think you're hurting the most of your audience by hurting readers and telling
Yeah.
readers that because if you don't have readers for your books, you're not going to sell
Yeah.
any copies.
Yeah.
And the
That's
the purpose of your book has been completely thrown out the window because unless you just wanted to write a book to do it, most people also want people to write said or read said book because they took the time to write it.
hmm
And I think that's like another huge point,
yeah.
that you bring up is really
Yeah.
good.
That's a good point. That's basically saying if this book has not made a ton of money already, you should not bother reading it because it's not worthwhile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's usually not true. I've read so many good things that nobody had heard of. I absolutely loved this. At my college, we have a course where for creative writing students, and I think English students, you read a bunch of books that are newly published within, I think, the last 5 years. And so some of those books don't have a ton of traction in the big kind of
Hmm.
space. I don't think any of the books that I read last year were New York Times bestsellers. I don't think they had a ton of awards or anything. And then the author would come in and speak to the class after we read their book. And the authors were so grateful, to have an experience,
Hmm.
that time to come in with students. And those books were nothing I had read before. I wasn't bored by the class. Wasn't like, oh, I've read this. It wasn't like, oh, the other literature class I took last semester was Charles Dickens. We read Bleak
Right.
House the entire semester. And I needed a Brit class. I didn't have a choice. And it was like, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna read this established guy who's been an author for, it was like nice to read different stuff. And there was an absolutely beautiful book that I read. And I like love that book to death. So I think, and it wasn't like a huge bestseller. It wasn't super known by anybody I knew or really, in the reading space until it took off more when you have more readers. So I think that having a reading audience is super important. And, programs that give indie authors or, breakout authors a chance to have more people read them, their books, is like way more important
Hmm.
than, AI generates your picture. Because I think in the end, people will see through that fakeness. We've seen
I
it
know.
before.
So what is going to qualify as that commercial success? Because as we've seen now, there is a plethora of AI shit out there. Some of that's making money.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're saying, hey, this book was written by AI. If you worked on it, that's actually commercially viable. Congratulations, you're accepted now.
Yeah.
It's just it, and with that, it's harder to get a commercially viable book because there's much more out there. It's harder to find. Um, so I mean, it's becoming the point where I think it begs the question to discuss, quite frankly, if you don't use AI in some capacity, will you eventually get left behind or will this bubble burst?
I believe, and this is me putting my marketing hat on. Let's pretend it's this. It's my marketing hat.
Should
It's
get
the
a hat that fits
strawberry.
better.
Okay, well, it's a trash can, Tim.
Are you
Which
saying
Wow.
marketing
sounds
is trash?
which sounds
Wow.
it sounds appropriate. No, I
There,
just
your
said
marketing
that
glasses. There
my
you
There's
go.
your
marketing
marketing
glasses.
glasses.
I have
Beautiful.
it because it's cute and it's pink. Have
Hmm.
you seen me?
I have.
Yes.
It's just so stupid. Okay. Um, People that want to consume fiction nowadays that are like the people that would consume the books that are published by Reedsy or whatever, they are not blind to everything that is happening around us. They understand the ethical issues and they understand everything that is happening around AI. And we touched upon this. The people that are doing stuff with AI are within an echo chamber into like everyone is like sucking off everybody and that's it. And I don't know any other way to describe it, so I'm sorry. But like that is the truth. But if you are an author that maybe even doesn't really care about like AI or whatever, but you did everything by yourself. And then you use an AI generated fucking Assassin's Creed type beat because that is exactly the thing that they said, which is like, why are you using the idea of something that is already copyrighted to propose people to create something that is clearly not your intellectual property um to market your book. Maybe it's a great book that you worked on it by yourself entirely and it's 100% human created. People are going to see that marketing image, they're going to be like, this is fucking AI bullshit and not even want to read it. Like even from a marketing standpoint of even an author that doesn't care about this would also be shooting themselves in the foot. And I think that the more that everything progresses, there's going to be more of a black and white situation. We are right now still in like a lot of grays, in which like the people that are going to be using AI for writing whatever fucking slop bullshit they do are their own market, and it's like a circle jerk of like themselves, and then the rest of the people are going to be more anti like the circle jerk bullshit that the other people are doing it, because
Yeah.
the way that I see discourse online is that they try to shove it down people's throats so much. Like, for example, this marketing email that absolutely no one asked for, it just very alarming. Like the way the the words that are used are very like, if you don't do this, you're gonna fall behind and it's going to be awful and all that shit. Like, and it's very fear-mongering. It's very red pill.
No,
So
it is. That's what it feels like. Exactly what you
I'm
just did
gonna
is what it feels like.
punch.
Like, I actually wonder if the Reedsy one is almost like a setup to them announcing that they've integrated with an AI.
100%. One
Yeah.
million
But
percent. I would pay you $1 million.
done.
But like
This is
they're
recorded.
like they're trying to they're
Because
trying to
that
like
seems so much. That's exactly what
Yeah.
NaNoWriMo did, bro. This is NaNoWriMo all over
Yeah.
again.
But I think I think part of the problem with the Discord among all this is that there's essentially a couple of different echo chambers. You have the echo chamber of, I mean, more or less people like us who are like, AI is bad,
Mhm.
you should not use it at all. Then you have the echo chamber of all the authors who have bought into it for whatever reason, whether they're using it for writing, editing, marketing, whatever. And those two circles are completely separate. Then you have the readers up here that are, there's going to be a little overlap with these, but it's like the readers who are aware of AI stay away from it. The readers who don't give a crap, because clearly someone's buying all these AI books.
hmm
Yeah.
And so clearly, I think there's too many circles out there that just aren't talking with each other. And because it's the internet, you're not going to go try to find another circle to discuss it with, because let's be frank, people are assholes on the internet.
I do have like something to say to the people that are a little bit on the fence. Again, oh, fuck, I need the marketing glasses. Where did I put them? About all of this. If you don't use AI, you're not alienating any part of your audience. You are just doing you. However, if you use AI to do anything in regards of like your books and everything, you are actually alienating a part of your audience, because there are people out there that will choose not to consume it. From a pure author marketing perspective, it's not beneficial to you to even try to do that. It doesn't cut as much corners as you think it would. And in general, even if you don't care about the environmental risk, the unethical issues, the way like fucking LibGen, like all of that, it is not a smart idea for you, because you're not going to have as much reach, because people are going to choose not to engage with you because of the choices that you have made.
And I mean, I don't remember the exact marketing email that I got it from initially, so I had to try to Google it real fast. But like, this is just from the CRM buyer back late 2024. Like, consumers are often skeptical of AI and marketing because they fear privacy invasion. And just in general, like, people no longer view AI as a selling point. And now there's enough understanding of AI out there that people view it as a negative, whether it's included in your product or you use it in your product. And it's obvious, like with these AI generated images, and you just basically, I'm saying you're right. Like, you are actively reducing the amount of people who would potentially buy from you because of that.
I feel like too this happened very recently. We have a very quick repeat of history here. If anyone remembers what happened with NFTs and how we had at
Forgot
first,
about those.
and I hate to bring them up, but it's one of those things where history is repeating itself
Oh, those
very
were so
quickly, and that
stupid.
scares me. So at first we have a tool that could help like artists by making it so that nobody can just like steal your art and all this stuff. With how the blockchain worked, it was very much
Hmm.
unique. But what happened was we got randomly generated slop This was before AI images, and now it's worse with AI images. And as soon as it turned from the potential to be helpful to, oh, harming the environment, and tech
Hmm.
bros are using it to, you know, disrupt the landscape of whatever they're getting
Yeah.
into, it became like public enemy number one. And you then had two very like big camps that never once had a discussion about the other person's side. And not that NFTs have completely gone away, but based on your reactions, it has somewhat faded from the public consciousness in the sense that it's like less common to go up to your friends and be like, "Did you see the new scandal with the NFTs?"
It
You
was
know,
just
so
so dumb. You pay
it was, oh, it was
$25,000 and you
so
own a
dumb.
picture of a monkey with a banana on its head. Like,
And I can copy that and
yeah,
paste, but
right click, save as.
yeah, right.
Like,
And so but in the same, it feels very similar to this, where we have this big new technology that emerges and nobody knows what it can do.
hmm.
And then as soon as we figure out that people are using it for something bad, we all backtrack and are like, oh, never mind.
I don't think people that don't use AI are going to be left behind. I think that that is a fear-mongering statement of like this very big people that clearly have both companies and also like the individuals that are making this a business because they have something to win. And it's a very similar case that happens in very, very different like states of like forgot grifts like
Hmm.
multi-level marketing and pyramid schemes and stuff, in which the way that they talk about something is like you're going to die if you don't do this, you're going to be left behind. Like they create, there's like we could have a podcast about this, and like I'll talk to you, Tim, if you want to do it,
Yeah.
because it's very interesting. It's cult like tactics that they do to grab people in particular, in this case, business models. And at the end of the day, all of these services that are trying to force AI down people's mouths is trying to force them into a specific business model that they are the ones that benefit from because they're getting money out of it. I don't believe that I do believe that like machine learning and artificial intelligence is a development that is here to stay. Like people are not going to stop using it, integrating, hopefully not with creative
Yeah.
fields, but like with other stuff. But I really, really urge people to have some critical thinking and like take a step back whenever they hear like the whole like if you don't use this then you're going to be useless and obsolete within 2 years, because that is only said with the purpose of getting money and fear out of you.
Yeah. And I'm trying to remember who said this. Like we saw it on Thread somewhere, and if I can find it, I'll drop it in the description below. But um, everyone keeps mistaking like AI is not creativity. Creativity is the process
Yeah.
of creating. Like the outcome is the outcome. Like creativity is writing something, drawing something, designing something. And AI doesn't have creativity. AI just copies whatever and slaps it together for you. Like so it's just shortcutting the process. You're missing the good part. And that's what it's selling to companies is that you're missing the good part. You're missing the part where you use your brain, you come up with something new, something exciting, something that no one's ever seen before. And by using AI, we're just recycling the same ideas over and over again. So I mean, I think absolutely this bubble is going to burst because at a certain point it will run out of data. It will run out of hopefully it'll run out of people feeding it data and get it back to doing things like health analysis and things that people don't want to do and let the people who want to read and write and make art and cook and whatever let them do that. Get the AI out of here. Get it into stuff that can be beneficial to humanity because AI slot books are not.
Well, and I think there's excuse me, something interesting to say about art in this case. We have AI art poisoners, and you can coat your art in this like, you know,
Glaze.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, you glaze it. And there's also nightshade. Um,
Nightshade.
and
Woo.
and so what you do is you code your art in this like I don't know, it's like a weird texture, and the AI either can't read it, or if you have Nightshade, it actually poisons the AI's like system,
Hmm.
and it kind of feeds like false information. So if the AI is taking your picture that you've glazed or you've put into Nightshade, it like you know it kind of messes with the AI, and so it can't really read your artwork. And the more people that either don't put their art on the internet, or if they do use a glaze or a nightshade, the more we're going to kind of mess up the AI models to the point where they don't work anymore.
Yeah.
Like the one disadvantage with those specifically is that if you have a very simplistic art style like I do, it is too noticeable, even at the lowest settings. The one thing that sucks about being a writer is we don't have glaze or nightshade because writing works very differently. There's no way to just, glaze my writing and AI can't read it. It's just so different.
Yeah, that is why StoryForge is behind a login screen, because otherwise AI could crawl everything, which I mean, I think some of the other main writing platforms are not behind login screens, so that's concerning for them.
Yeah.
But
A
uh
a lot of art platforms are as well.
yeah,
They've already been behind login screens because they're concerned about stealing, or they've put behind login screens because AI can't crawl.
yeah. Oh, it's just a battle between us and the tech bros, and we'll see who wins. But I think on that note, we'll wrap it up. So thanks for everyone for joining us for this episode of Publishers Behaving Badly. Remember, it's not you, it's them.